the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. There was the true light which, coming into the world, enlightens every man. And as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, even to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we saw his glory, glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. For of his fullness we have all received, and grace upon grace.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm glad that you have rejoined me for Quarantine Chronicle, Episode 4, Stepping into Eternity. Now, this is a big dog topic. We've got redemption. We've got Jesus. We've got eternity. There's a lot to dive into. This is not for the faint at heart. Let's get started. Okay. So have you ever asked yourself, why do we have the four Gospels? Well, the four Gospels exist to do essentially two things. Reveal the character of Jesus and reveal his message. The character of Jesus is the image of God, and the message is our redemption.
Each of the four Gospels gives us a unique angle on Jesus. It'll give us a unique angle on the disciples, the Jews, and in some cases, it gives us a unique angle of the message itself. So John's Gospel is one of the more beautiful and poetic of the Gospels. From the beginning, John invites us to step into eternity. And I'm going to show you via a timeline how this works. So here we have John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, so God was there too, and the Word was God. So this absolutely amplifies Jesus's authority and his role. Because he was with God in the beginning, he was God. And in verse 3, it says, all things came into being through him. And apart from him, nothing came into being that is being. So let's just put this into perspective here. You are here, and he is here, here, here. He's everywhere before you. He will always be there after you. He's everywhere. Jesus is everywhere. If you were paying too close attention in the introduction, you'll realize that I skipped a few verses in the beginning. That's a pun. All right. And coming down to verse 9, it says that he enlightens every man. So if maybe you ask yourself, well, who qualifies? Okay, let's go through that. Okay. If you were born anytime after the creation of everything, all the way to before absolute total retribution, then you qualify. The question is, How? Well, the answer is, if you look forward to verse 12, it says, as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, even to those who believe in his name. Now, the key word here is to those who receive him. Now, I know not everyone here is a football fan, but I'm going to use the analogy here of what it's like to receive something. But you know what? Actually, I'll tell you what. Instead of me explaining it to you, let me show you what it's like to truly receive something. So Patrick Showtime Mahomes is pulling back for a huge gun. And oh my gosh, he hit Tyreek Hill for a 44-yard bomb in the end of the fourth quarter. Can you say San Fran, see you later, Tyreek Hill and the Legion of Zoom? There it is again. Boom, that's a reception, just in case you didn't know.
Once you threaten him, he's one-on-one.
Man, that was such a great game. Oh my goodness. I know what you're asking yourself. Asher, how did we start in the beginning talking about eternity and the Gospel of John, and a hop, skip, and a boat ride later, we end up in the football stadium with Patrick Showtime Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs while he's throwing a bomb to Tyreek Hill with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter for them to create the massive comeback that they did to win the Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo. How did we get there? Well, I'll tell you. We were talking about how to receive Christ, and I wanted to use Tyreek's reception when he caught the ball as an example, because there were two things that were very present when Tyreek caught that ball. The first thing was desire. So if you are a non-believer, or if you know a non-believer, chances are they are not going to hear the message of Christ. They're not going to receive the answer, the commission of Christ, unless they have a desire to do it. And most of us are already Christians, I believe, that are watching this video. Most of you are probably already Bible-believing Christians, or I should say Jesus-believing Christians. And I think that the same thing applies. You see, you have to have desire to continually transform yourself. You're always evolving. We're always learning something new about ourselves, deepening our faith, but that starts with desire. And it doesn't come without opposition. No matter how fast Tyreek Hill is, as soon as he caught that ball, it took the 49ers all of less than 1 second to be swarming around him. And you know, I really think that that's how the devil and the demons work. I think that's how evil works in this world. You see, the devil doesn't need to attack you when you're sitting on the couch. The devil doesn't need to bother with you if you're already mindlessly scrolling through social media and through Netflix and through Disney Plus or whatever your struggle scroll is. He doesn't need to attack you. He doesn't need to come against you in those moments. It's in the moments where you decide you have a desire to rise for Christ, to increase your faith, to increase your involvement in church. It's those moments when we stand up. That's when opposition is there. Opposition is there when we decide it's time to receive Christ. Now, if you look forward to verses 14 and 16, the Bible says that the Word became flesh and he dwelt among us, and he was full of grace. And in verse 16, it says that we received him and grace upon grace. Now, you got to catch that. When you receive the message, you should not receive the message without the mirror. And this is what I mean. You receive the message of Christ, but you also need to make sure that you reflect the image of Christ when you receive him. You know, I think of the football player who, when they catch the ball, right, they throw out the stiff arms and they're trying to get to the end zone and they're juking people off of them on their way to the end zone. And I think that's kind of like Christians on our way to heaven. We have this message and we just want to stiff arm the world all the way to heaven. And at some point, it seems like we might develop a contempt for those that are outside the church. We call them sinners. We call them lost. But you can't take this message and just hate those who don't have it. That's not what we're called to do. That's not the grace that we're called in. Instead, why don't we take this message that we were given and that we were invited into by God through Jesus, why don't we take that same message and share it with those who don't have it in hopes that in the sharing of the message, while we are imitating Christ and doing it with grace, that they too will step into eternity and respond to the message. Or that you will grow in your faith and grow in your knowledge and love and service to Christ. But we won't do that without the grace of Jesus. And that is Quarantine Chronicle number 4. Hopefully I get the 5th one out next week. Sometimes work gets a little crazy, but I'm so blessed and thankful that you watch these and that you even care a little bit about them because they take a lot of time to make. But be blessed, have a great day, and enjoy the blooper in about 10 seconds. We're going with it. I'm trying, okay?